Hello family and welcome back. In today's tutorial I'll be walking you through steps to create an elegant corporate dress with collar and stylish sleeves. Be sure to subscribe if it's your first time interacting with this channel. Also like and leave a comment below. Get ready to see a clever trick for drafting both front and back of your gown at once. We'll start by folding the fabric in half, wrong sides facing each other. But that's not all. There's a second fold coming up as shown. These two pieces you see below will form the back of the dress, while the two upper section will be the front. Alright, now that we have the fabric prepared, let's move on to the vertical measurements. First one being shoulder line to bust line measurement at 10 inches, to waistline at 15.5 inches. Lastly is to full length, which will be 42 inches, including an additional 1 inch for folding allowance. This will result in a final length of 43 inches. To ensure straight horizontal lines, we'll repeat all the measurements along the side. Then I'll connect these points with horizontal lines using a straight ruler. Once that is done, go ahead and label the lines from bust line all the way to full length line. Let's move on to drafting a basic neckline strictly from the center front. That's why you see me mark at 3 inches neck width. Then I'll proceed and mark 3 inches neck depth as well. And given these points, we'll use a French curve ruler in smoothing out neckline like that. On the same note, we'll have back neck width of 1 inch marked as well. Hence, back neckline smooth out using a French ruler too. Bear in mind that the 3 inches neck width has been maintained for both. I'm currently taking half shoulder measurement on the shoulder line from center front. From there, I'm just going to move half an inch downwards for shoulder slope. Thereafter, I'll draw new shoulder line that runs from the neck width down to the mark. I hope by now you're all aware that the chest line is always taken from the shoulder slope. Exactly what I'm doing. After marking that, I'll square out a line, but it doesn't stop there since we also need to transfer half shoulder measurement marked earlier at the top to it. This only ensures that the armhole depth is nice and straight. Now we'll be focusing on taking quarter bust measurement on the bust line. That's basically bust measurement divided by 4. On top of that, find armhole depth, midpoint and mark. Go half an inch inwards from that exact mark, after which use a curve ruler to create a smooth and accurate armhole curve as shown. Ready to create a basic dart? Here is how. First, find halfway point of your bust span and measure on both waistline and bust line. After that, connect them with a straight line. This will be your dart line. On the waistline, mark half an inch on each side of that line. This creates the width of your dart. Additionally, measure down 5 inches from waistline marking on that line. That's dart depth in the lower section. Also reduce dart depth on the upper section by 1 inch. You can use this technique to create a basic dart on various garments. With that drawn, let's measure quarter waist circumference on waistline, plus 1 inch dart replacement, plus 1 inch more for seam allowance. Already we have quarter bust circumference marked here, so I'll only add 1 inch seam allowance. While I was taking the vertical measurements, I forgot to include hip line, and for that reason, I'm going to measure 10 inches from waistline for that, then of course align across like I did with the rest. With that completed, measure quarter hip circumference on drawn hip line plus 1 inch seam allowance. Same considerations will apply to full length line. Have decided to mark at 8.5 inches. And don't forget, these are just guide measurements. Feel free to adjust them to create a gown that flatters your figure. Having taken that into consideration, let's move on to shaping the dress itself. We'll start by drawing the bodice outline, then we'll tackle the skirt afterwards. I'm currently cutting out following the drawn outline. I hope you notice that I'm only cutting following the back neckline instead of the front neckline. We'll also be cutting out a long back armhole for now. I'll shape the curved armhole later. From there, I'll simply copy front center line onto the back pieces by tracing a line from top all the way down to the bottom. And once I'm done, I'll flip the front piece just so I can do some waist snatching on back pieces. Measure half an inch inwards from the drawn center line, then measure the same on the seam allowance. So now go ahead and draw new back center line as well as new seam allowance edge. This is done to prevent zip bulge. Afterwards, cut out along the second line. Here is a quick tip for copying darts onto the other pieces. Simply press a pair of closed scissors down firmly along the dart fold. Using the pressed crease as guide, transfer that shape to the other fabric pieces. Then now is the time to cut out along the front neckline and armhole curve. Let's now focus on the V neckline drafting on the front part. I have drawn a faded sketch first since I have to play around with the design I want before committing to the final line with a visible line. I just realized the initial drawing is going to reveal chest part a lot, so I had to move it upwards a bit. Take note that this other lower line is of no use now, and that leads me to cutting it out. This is me tracing out facing piece of the upper section of the front part. And I've also managed to trace out facing piece for the back part, which is in this shape and is a single piece. That means we'll have to join the two back pieces before attaching the facing on it. Also me stitching that following the dart fold from one apex to the other. Like I said, now it's the time to join the back pieces together. This mark indicates where the zipper is to start, which runs down to the second mark. Just like always, for now we'll stitch loosely along the zipper space and the slit space. I'm currently stitching as I explained earlier, starting with small normal stitches, a back stitch, then I'll proceed with loose stitches along the zipper space, a back stitch once again where the slit starts, followed by loose stitches. Now that the back pieces have been joined, let's now attach lining to fabric from their side edges. Same considerations will apply to the front fabric and facing as well. Look at that guys, back piece is ironed flat after attaching facing to it, and I've notched slightly above the slit to allow the seam allowance to lay flat. Before I can join the two shoulders together, let's shape back neck width to match the front. Once done, grab fabric pieces back and front and stitch separately with 0.5 inches. Same goes for the facing pieces as can be seen. After I was done stitching, I went ahead and ironed seams flat both sides. For now, I'll just use pins to hold them in place before I can head over to the sewing machine and stitch on sides using body measurements. Having finished that, let's now take total round neckline measurement to be able to draft collar, which is 28 inches. This being my collar piece, I'll fold it into two, right sides facing each other, and after achieving an alignment, I'll fold again the second time into two. Pay close attention to this step to ensure accurate collar pattern. Pins are coming in handy to hold everything in place before I start drafting the collar. Okay, let's measure half collar width of 4 inches from the fold, then square out a line across the marks. Length measured earlier was 28 inches, that's why you see me mark half the length since it's on fold. On top of that, add 1 inch for seam allowance. From there, you'll be required to draw a line from the mark radiating towards the upper edge like that, since it's a pointed collar somehow. When done, cut out along the drawn outline. Having cut, let's head over to the sewing machine and stitch along the side edges with about 0.5 inches. After stitching and ironing as explained, here is what I've got. So very fast, I'll show you how to attach collar to the dress from the neckline. Be sure to follow along. Having placed collar piece between the facing and the fabric, ensure right sides are facing each other for both. Then you'll be stitching it with 0.5 inches all round neckline. Bear in mind that the collar piece has to remain in between the fabric and the facing as you stitch. That's the trick. See how professional this looks? No raw edges at all. Have made the first 3/4 sleeve with bow off camera. As can be seen, the second sleeve is also halfway done. From here, I'm going to attach this bow to the sleeve, and after I'm done, I'll fix them to their armholes. If you've enjoyed this tutorial and you love to see more dresses like this, hit the subscribe button so you don't miss a video. Kindly, if you want to master sleeves or fix a hidden zipper, check out all the amazing tutorials available on this channel.